Welcome to another segment of my chemistry videos. As we look at part 3, we continue with alloys. So remember, in our previous discussion, we defined an alloy as simply a mixture of two or more metals. That is what we mean. Or it could be a metal and a non-metal. So we are going to look at now what are some common alloys and their uses. So I'll be looking at the common alloys and also their uses. One, we can start with one of the alloys that we have is brass. So what are the metals or elements that make up what we are calling as being brass? Well, you need to remember that brass is simply made up of elements copper and zinc. So copper and zinc are the elements that make up brass. But what are the uses of brass? Of course, it is used in making musical instruments. So we can say it is used to make musical instruments. So you can actually use it to make musical instruments. So it is possible it can be used in making musical instruments. Sometimes it can also be used in making ornaments or doorknobs. So I can maybe say making of ornaments. So it can also be used in making ornaments, and maybe I can say door knobs. So sometimes they are capable of using brass. So what is important, remember that brass is made up of copper and zinc. Another alloy that you need to remember that is common is what we call as being bronze. So what are the elements or metals that make up bronze? So bronze is mainly made up of copper again and what we call as being tin. So it is made up of copper and tin. So copper and tin makes up what we are calling as being bronze. So what are the uses of bronze? So bronze, it is used in making medals or trophies. So that is what we can say. So we can simply say that it is used in making medals or trophies. So it can be used in making medals or trophies. Apart from that, we can simply say it is used to make medallions. So we can say it can also be used in making medallions, precious items, so to say, that you are able to use. So medallions, so you are able to to use it in such a way. So that is some of the common elements, but let's give you some more. Apart from brass and bronze, which other alloys are you going to be finding in the exam? So another one that you're going to be finding in the exam is what we call as being stainless. You can also have what we call as being stainless steel. So now when it comes to stainless steel, what elements make up stainless steel? So when it comes to stainless steel, we can simply say that it is made up of one, you're going to find that iron is going to be there. Two, they are going to be using chromium. And three, you're going to find that they can also use nickel. So those are the elements, Fe, Cr, and Ni. So those are the elements that are going to be found in stainless steel. So you're going to find that these are the elements that you're going to find. In most cases, you're going to find that 70% is going to be iron, 20% is going to be chromium, and 10% can be nickel. So together, they make up stainless steel. Now, because of nickel and chromium, it actually makes iron to become stainless. No wonder it is simply called as being stainless steel. What are the uses? Well, stainless steel, we can simply say used in cutlery. So it is used in making cutlery. Those are items that do not require to rust. E.g., we can talk about maybe, forks. So we can talk about forks and, spoons. Apart from forks, knives that are used maybe during dinner for eating. Yeah, so knives. Yeah, why? The reason is because it does not rust. So that is what you need to remember. Stainless steel does not rust, and therefore it is used in making cutlery such as forks, spoons, knives, etc., etc. Most of the items that we use in the kitchen. All right, another one that you are going to find is that maybe let me give you another use of stainless steel. We can simply maybe say it is used for making watch casing. So in case you are wearing a precious watch, an expensive one, you are going to find that the outer casing of those watches, they use what they are calling as being stainless steel. Apart from that, I can simply say it is also used in making, so we can also use it in making surgical, most of the surgical equipment. So surgical equipment, because those don't require them to rust. As a result, they need to make those surgical equipment using a material that does not rust, and thereby stainless steel comes in. Another one that we can talk about that may be common is what we call as being solder. So what is the soda made from? Well, soda is simply made up of tin and lead. So that is what you need to remember. In most cases, they may use 50% tin and they can use 50% lead. And normally when you talk about soda, it has a lower melting point than either the two metals that are going to be used. So what are the uses of soda? Well, it is used, we can say used, for soldering. So it can be used for soldering and welding. So they are going to be using it for soldering and welding. So that is the use of this solder. Another one, which maybe is the last one. Remember, there are so many alloys. I'm just, highlighting just a few. Another alloy that you are going to find, another common alloy that you're going to find. This should be number 5. The 5th alloy that we are looking at is what we call as being mild, steel. Of course, when it comes to steels, they are in various categories. So you're going to find that they are actually in various categories. So for mild steel, it is made up of iron and carbon. Of course, those things are actually regulated. About 99% is going to be iron, and less than 1% is going to be carbon. So that is mild steel. It is actually stronger and harder than pure iron. That is what you need to remember. What are the uses of mild steel? So mild steel has got so many uses. One, we can maybe say it is used it is used for making bridges. So you can use it for making bridges because it is actually harder, stronger than the iron from which it is gotten. Then you can also say used for making automobile bodies and parts. So bodies and parts. Yeah, so we are able to use it. E.g., when I talk about e.g., you can use it in making car bodies. You can actually use it for making sometimes engines. So they can actually use this one. Apart from that, you can use mild steel in making of boring tools. So you can use it for making tools that are used for boring, like those that are used by carpenters and the like. Mild steel is actually a very good one. All right, so this marks the end of this segment. Please watch out for the next segment as we now try to compare the difference between an alloy and a pure metal. Thank you so much for watching.